What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. News broke yesterday that Errol Spence Jr. and Keith Thurman will be fighting in April. Now, they don't have a confirmed date, but it will be in April. Now, I find that kind of rich because Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia supposed to be in April, so we won't have to pay for 2 pay-per-views in the month of April. Now, the date that I'm hearing is April 29th. They're going to try to at least spread it out 2 weeks. They're not going to go back-to-back with pay-per-views. So they're going to try to spread it out 2 weeks apart because April 1st is not going to be a good date because that's going to be Final Four weekend. So that would be bad business for put a fight on the same night we got the national semifinals in college basketball. With all that being said, what was very interesting is the fight's going to be at 154 pounds, not at 147 pounds. And if that's the case, then Errol Spence Jr. needs to vacate his belts. He already said that he's been having problems making 147, that it's not fun, that if he couldn't get the Crawford fight, he would move up. The Crawford fight is not happening, so go up to 154 and vacate the belts and let these young guns fight it out for supremacy at 147 pounds. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. Now, the WBA is going to allow Errol Spence Jr. to go up to 154 pounds and fight Keith Thurman. But after that fight, they're giving him 60 days to negotiate a fight with WBO welterweight champion Terence Crawford. If he can't come to agreement, he must fight the winner of a Sterionis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. And in my opinion, you're not going to see Errol Spence Jr. fight at 147 pounds ever again. He told you guys that if he couldn't get the Crawford fight, he would move up to 154 pounds. So I think that he will try to make the Crawford fight happen. I think he will get Al Heyman and Steven Espinosa to give Terence Crawford a take it or leave it contract. They ain't gonna play with Terence Crawford. I believe that's gonna be the best case scenario for people that's still hoping or still holding out hope that we get Spence versus Crawford in 2023. They'll give him a take it or leave it contract. If he don't take it, then he'll stay at 154 pounds. He's not going back down to 147 to fight the winner of Sterionis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. He's not going back to 147 to fight Jerome Business. Jerome Business is the IBF welterweight champion. That's just a fait accompli. We're just waiting on that to become official. He is the IBF welterweight champion. And the winner of a Sterionis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. will be the world WBA welterweight champion. That's what's going to happen. And then the WBC belt will become vacant. They can collaborate with the IBF because Ennis is ranked in the top 4 of the WBC. They can collaborate with the IBF and Jerome Business and have a unification with the highest ranked opponent, which is I believe is Virgil Ortiz, but Virgil Ortiz will be going the WBA route, so I think the next guy in line will be Thurman. So win, lose, or draw versus Spence in April, he can drop back down to 147 and take on Jerome Business in a unification fight, which would be appealing to him, but he's 33 years old, so him going up to 154, and he's been very inactive, going back down to 147 to face a young lion and Jerome Business, I don't think that would be the best career path for Keith Thurman. He might well stay at 154, especially if he gets the victory over Errol Spence Jr. Stay at 154 and chase the man at 154, Jamel Lions-On and Charlo. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. Now, Errol Spence Jr. also said recently that he will fight his stablemate Jamel Charlo. His trainer, Derek James, said that he ain't for that. He don't want to see that happen because he trained both fighters. So it was widely assumed that Errol Spence Jr. and Jamel Charlo wouldn't fight each other at 154 pounds because they are very good friends. They're stablemates and they share the same trainer. But Errol Spence Jr. say, I'll fight Jamel Charlo. It's strap season. You know what I'm all about. I'm about strap season. So if he the man at 154, let's make it happen. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But interesting developments yesterday. A lot of people going after Errol Spence Jr. saying that why in the hell is he fighting 154 pounds? Takes a lot of lust off the fight with Keith Thurman. It could have been a unification fight, but I think that's a camouflage. I think they want him to stay at 147 because they still holding out hope that he takes on Terrence Crawford. They know that him moving up to 154 decreases the chances of Errol Spence Jr. taking on Terrence Crawford for undisputed at 147 pounds. If that fight takes place, it's much more likely to take place at 154 pounds. Now, I do believe that Errol Spence Jr. will try to squeeze back down to 147 if the opportunity presents himself to take on Terrence Crawford. But again, they couldn't come to agreement in 6 months. How in the hell are they going to come to agreement in 60 days? I don't see it happening. I'm like Ray Charles, I can't see it. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Very, 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 very interesting developments in the WBC. This is all a domino effect of the Spence versus Crawford fight failing to materialize. Had the whole WBC division stagnating. All the top fighters waiting on that fight to get finalized or not get finalized so they know what next move they want to make. And now we sit here with Errol Spence Jr., who's been out the ring for well over a year, going up to 154 to take on Thurman, another fighter that's been out the ring well over a year in 154 pounds. Two career welterweights making their debut at 154 pounds for no belt. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Very, very interesting developments. Now, the WBC president, Mauricio Sulaiman, has a lot of options. He can collaborate with the IBF, and they can do a unification, as Ennis could risk his IBF belt. Like I said, he's going to be elevated to IBF champion. That's just a fait accompli, in my opinion, because Errol Spence Jr. not going to fight him. He's not going back down to 147 to fight nobody but Terrence Crawford. So Mauricio Sulaiman can do this if Errol Spence Jr. stays at 154. They can do this. Make Ennis versus Thurman in a unification. Make Ennis versus Ugas in a unification. Or make Thurman versus Ugas for the vacant WBC welterweight title. Or they can do what a lot of fans are saying is the next big super fight in the welterweight division. Do Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz, especially if Virgil Ortiz beats Stellonis. Do Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz, and you will have the IBF, the WBA, and the vacant WBC title on the line. And the winner of that fight will be in prime position to fight Terrence Crawford for undisputed at 147 pounds. That would be the best case scenario if Errol Spence Jr. decides to stay at 154 pounds. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Terrence Crawford is in an interesting position now too. He can wait on her opponent to in the top 10 of the WBO and negotiate with one of those opponents. I was speculating in another video that Alexis Rocha could be an opponent for Terrence Crawford, as he is the highest ranked available opponent in the WBO. Now, he has a fight coming up in late January, I believe January 28th, against an opponent that I've never heard of. So it's basically a showcase fight for Alexis Rocha. He get that win, that could be a fight for Terrence Crawford in the summer of 2023. Terrence Crawford versus Alexis Rocha, that could be a fight. And Rocha is promoted by Golden Boy Promotions. He fights on the Zone, so they could have that fight on the Zone, or maybe have that fight on BLK Prime. I don't know if Rocha can fight Crawford on BLK Prime. I kind of doubt it, as all Golden Boy promoted fighters have basically fought on the Zone, as Golden Boy has an exclusive deal with the Zone. Even Ryan Garcia in his fight with Tank Davis, that fight's going to be a collaboration with Showtime and the Zone. So that fight in all likelihood would definitely have to take place on the Zone, which should be no problem, as Terrence Crawford has no network deal. He is a free agent, and he can basically go and come as he please as far as fighting on Showtime, fighting on the Zone, fighting on ESPN. So he has a lot of freedom right now. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., in my opinion, is less likely to transpire in 2023 due to the fact that Errol Spence Jr. has moved up to 154. If those two guys do fight, I think there's a higher chance it'll be at 154 than 147. And it will lose a lot of luster because it won't be for undisputed. It'll just be two career welterweights, two of the biggest names in the sport of boxing, two of the pound-for-pound fighters in boxing, as I have Crawford number 1 and Spence number 2. So it still will be a lot on the line, because the winner of that fight, in my opinion, will be the unquestioned number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. And you remember back in the day when Roy Jones fought James Toney. And you guys can answer this in the comment section. What weight class was that fight campaigned at? What campaign? People probably don't remember that. People don't remember that, but people do remember that that fight was a big fight. And that fight was the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in Roy Jones Jr. taking on the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in James Toney. Nah, my bad, I got that wrong. James Toney was the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter, and Roy Jones was the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter, if my memory serves me correctly. And the winner of that fight, which was Roy Jones Jr., was the unquestioned number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. And that's what would be at stake, even if those guys do fight at 154 pounds. Even though no belts won't be on the line in all probability, the pound-for-pound status, in my opinion, the head number 1 fighter, pound-for-pound, would be on the line, even at 154 pounds, in my opinion. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.